Here we go again. Another black man killed by a white police officer and no indictment. Eric Garner was killed in July of this year because the police put him in an illegal chokehold, and the medical examiner said he died because of the chokehold and ruled it a homicide. A grand jury in Staten Island apparently did not agree and refused to indict. Now, here we go again with District Attorney Daniel Donovan, who just couldn't figure out a way to indict a white officer killing an unarmed black man. Golly gee, they can indict anyone they want. In the old saying in law school is you can indict a ham sandwich, because you don't get a defense in the grand jury unless the prosecutors decides to throw the case, as they did in Ferguson, and as apparently here we had issues. Now, we don't know what happened exactly in the grand jury. We do know that we have tape of the guy being choked to death, and for the very, very serious crime of selling untaxed cigarettes. Yet, wow, we just couldn't find a way to get an indictment. Another coincidence of another cop totally getting away with it. I wonder why they kill so many people across the country, and I'll tell you how many they kill later in the program. And because they get away with it every time, and here we go again, they got away with it again. There are no repercussions, they're above the law. So now let me give you a sense of what happened there. Now, of course, the cop here is Daniel Pantaleo. The guy who was killed is 47 years old, Eric Garner. He'd apparently sold untaxed cigarettes or loose cigarettes before. He sells them one at a time and does not pay the proper tax. That was a heavy charge laid against him in Staten Island when the officers went to go get him. Apparently, according to the tape, as you'll see here, he had broken up a fight. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. Cops got involved somehow, and this is what happened.
Hard way for what? Every time you see me, you want to mess with me. I'm tired of it. It stops today.
This guy right here is forcibly trying to lock somebody up for breaking up a fight.
Everybody standing here, they told you I didn't do nothing. I did not sell nothing. Because every time you see me, you want to harass me, you want to stop me until I sell cigarettes. I'm minding my business, officer. I'm minding my business. Please just leave me alone. I told you the last time. Please just leave me alone. Please, don't touch me. Don't touch me, please.
Hold on.
Don't touch me, please. Do not touch me. Damn, man.
All right, stop. Put your hands, buddy.
Put your hand behind your back. I can't breathe. 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 I can't breathe.
All he did was break up a fight. And this is what happens for breaking up a fight. This shit is crazy.
It is crazy. What's crazier is people looked at that tape and were like, yeah, not guilty. No, the guy didn't do anything wrong at all. Now, you have to understand something. The chokehold is against police regulations. They're not supposed to do chokehold. They got banned all the way back in 1993. And for those of you who don't know, there's a couple of different ways to get somebody under control like that. You can do what is colloquially called a sleeper hold, where you put the throat here, right, in between your arms. This actually blocks off blood here that has the person lose consciousness. This is real, okay? Or you could do the arm across the throat, which is a chokehold, which will cut off air to the person and kill them. As you can clearly see from that video, he didn't do a sleeper hold, he did a chokehold, okay? And put his arm, the bar, straight across his throat. The guy says, I can't breathe. But no, they're always guilty. You can't trust what they say. They're always lying, right? In this case, as in many, many other cases, he wasn't lying. He couldn't breathe. He's dead. He's dead. And there will be absolutely no consequence. So that's very important. Now, do we think that the guy should be charged with, first-degree homicide? He intended to kill Eric Garner and had this devious plot where he would wind up out there when he was selling cigarettes and then he would kill him. No, nobody thinks that, right? But you couldn't charge him with anything. You can get the grand jury to indict him on anything. Not assault? That wasn't assault? That wasn't a lower charge in his death? Now, look, the cop, this is rare as well, is actually really sorry. Now, obviously, you can tell from Darren Wilson, he's not sorry at all. Never apologized to the family in Ferguson and just called Michael Brown a demon and seemed like he was perfectly happy to kill him, right? And they were in the middle of a fight. Now, in this case, the officer says, I became a police officer to help people and to protect people who can't protect themselves. It is never my intention to harm anyone, and I feel very bad about the death of Mr. Garner. My family and I include him and his family in our prayers, and I hope that they will accept my personal condolences for their loss. It's not much, but it's something, right? At least the guy apologized and realized, well, I shouldn't have put him in a chokehold. But apparently, you couldn't get a grand jury to say he shouldn't have put him in a chokehold. That's not a thing that like, oh man, I shouldn't have crossed the street there when I did. I'm sorry, that's my bad, right? That's, I killed the guy. There should be some legal ramification for that and consequence for that, but that's why the cops are above the law. And they say, oh, my life's in danger. They're not. No, they will kill you in a second, okay? The actions of the cops all across the country have lost me. I used to, on this show, talk about, hey, listen, most cops aren't that way. And so I now believe that they are trained to kill as quickly as possible. I mean, there was a case outside of Ferguson. You remember the guy holding the knife? The cops pulled up and killed him within 15 seconds. Now, he had a knife. He wasn't anywhere near them, but it doesn't matter. Boom, 15 seconds. I thought that broke the record. No, the 12-year-old killed in Cleveland was shot within 2 seconds. 2 seconds, right? Who cares? Oh, he's selling just single cigarettes that aren't taxed the nickel that they're supposed to be taxed or something. Who cares? Put them in a chokehold. Who cares? We're never going to face the consequences. Cops are above the law. Again, do you think that if Eric Garner had killed a white police officer by choking him to death, that they couldn't find an indictment against him? They just couldn't get a grand jury in Staten Island to indict him? Does anyone in their right mind actually believe that? You can't possibly believe that. Now, one more thing here. Al Sharpton, believe it or not, made a good point here. He said this should have gone to federal investigators and prosecutors immediately. Why? He says, look, there's going to be an inherent bias in local prosecutors. We've talked about this on the show too, but I thought he put it well. He said there is an intrinsic relationship between state prosecutors and the police. They depend on the police for their evidence. They run for office and depend on the unions for endorsements. So, of course, District Attorney Donovan is going to be predisposed to protect the cops, as McCullough was in Ferguson. McCullough just couldn't find a way to indict 5 cops who'd shot black guys. He just couldn't find a way. Every time he indicts everyone else, but he can't indict them. You think that's a coincidence? Now look, even if you're the deepest conservative that is, and you celebrate cases like this, yeah, cops killing people, it's awesome, right? And I don't know who you are, but you definitely exist out there, because I've seen you all over the web. I've seen you all over television, right? Yes, cops killing innocent citizens who are unarmed. They had it coming, right? I mean, untaxed cigarettes. By the way, if you're a conservative, they killed them for not paying a tiny bit of taxes to the government. The biggest abuse of government power you can imagine because of taxes. Shouldn't you be on Eric Garner's side? What's the only reason you're not on Eric Garner's side? Right? Obviously, there is a conflict of interest when these prosecutors who work with the cops every single day go to indict them. They throw the case almost every time. I say almost because McCullough, the one involved in St. Louis, he did indict one cop. It was a black cop who used his baton against an unarmed defendant. I know, yet another coincidence.